akkuma jibbuutti Chama ganamaa jala godaante Dumti sisinniin akka fiteensa Kabajaa fi barcuma ofii dhiise Erga lafa taa'ee abbaatu of qinneessa Kabajaa fi jaalala sabaa dhiise Orma jala fiigee abbaatu of qinneessa Galata ejjate galchita Moggaata chikabe Oromoo ofirraa darbita Maaliif darbita Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Kanatu raajii natti ta'e marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Shakkee marre Kanaaf asi jibbee marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Kanatu raajii natti ta'e marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Shakkee marre Kanaaf asi jibbee marre Otoo boomni jiru dhagaarratti dhagaa darbata Hidhaan na fayyisu madaarratti madaa dabalta Maaliif dabalta Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Kanatu raajii natti ta'e marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Shakkee marre Kanaaf asi jibbee marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Kanatu raajii natti ta'e marre Kanatu gaaffii natti ta'e marre Shakkee marre Kanaaf asi jibbee marre Finfinnee lafa keenya handhuura keenya irratti horreetti irra jiraanne Gaaffii mirga abbaa biyyummaa achirratti qabnu wadaanu sitti laanne Deebisuu diddee jibbaanne Dhiigee dadhabeera si tuffateera uummanni ka'eera Dhiigee dadhabeera si tuffateera Oromoon ka'eera Boorannis ka'eera Hareeroo Gooroo sitti ka'eera Dhiigee dadhabeera si tuffateera Gujiis ka'eera.
Hello everyone, viewers of Gada News Network. Welcome back. Today, I'll be joined by two Oromo activists, Arsaddin Gobana and Mustariha Muhammad. Mustariha is not new for this network, and she was brought by the popular demand. My guest is Arsaddin Gobana. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Arsaddin, can you please introduce to our viewers probably your education background, your profession, your upbringing, where you live, where you came from, anything you think is relevant for our viewers to get to know you.
Okay, yeah, no worries. My name is Arsaddin Gobana. I live in Manitoba. My education background is I just recently graduated from an engineering degree. And I used to live back home when I was a kid. I was young, then I came here. Now Manitoba have been, I think more than me, my name probably need the introduction. The name obviously, the big name that I carry. The reason the name was given to me was anywhere in the world, wherever I am, that my identity would be instilled in me. It's ironic that I came to Canada. Imagine if I was anywhere in the world, this name I have to always answer to. Why is this name given it to me? And it also has a question. There is like a history question. You can see, oh, Siko Mando, where's the third one? I don't know where the third one is. So if you guys have an answer for that one, feel free to answer.
Thank you very much, Arsaddin. Of course, indeed, you are carrying a huge name. And I just want to apologize to our viewers if I call Arsaddin only because he's engineer on training and he specifically demanded not to call him engineer yet. So I respect your wish, Arsaddin. Mustariha, I am sure a lot of people knew you already, but if you could again introduce yourself because not everybody watched the same show, please.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hi everybody, I'm Mustee Mohammed. I also live in Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'm currently studying criminal justice and human rights in university. My third last year, so I will be done in a year. I'm also studying child and youth care, which I will be done in May soon, inshallah. My background, I came from Somalia, Hargeisa. I was born there. I did go to Oromia a few times and I grew up in the struggle and the oppression that, like most people are facing back home. Not as severe as they have it, but I did kind of see a little bit of it. And obviously, I had the best luck in the world because I came to Canada and I was able to get the rights that, they don't have. So that's kind of a little bit about me. Yeah.
Thank you very much, indeed, both of you. Arsaddin, let me ask you the most current situation in Ethiopia that is specifically related to a student. Both of you, Arsaddin, also graduated recently, and so Mustariha, you are a student. There is an issue affecting Oromo students of your age back home. For the past 2-3 years, Oromo university students sent to northern universities such as in Bahardar, Gondar, Wallo, and in Tigray are forcefully sent back there again. And they fear for their life because they saw their peers were killed and forcefully disappeared over the last 2 years. Unfortunately, the students back home don't have the luxury we have here. Arsaddin, do you have any message for Kairos and Kares back home who are in this position?
It's hard to have a message. I actually was recently back home in 2019. So when the whole student thing was happening in Waldia University, I was at home. So I've seen when they were coming from, when the body was coming from Waldia all the way home. I think it was a guy who passed away in Robe, Dida, and they were sending his body home. So the whole thing is, it had been a tragedy. It's hard to say because what's going on right now in Tigray, there is a war. So to send any student there, it doesn't make sense. And to send a student back to Waldia University or any Amara State University is very difficult. But the student needs to go back to school. So you have to find a way to send them back. And some of these guys are maybe in their final year, some of them in their first year. For the final year, they need to graduate. It's been almost 2 years. They're not getting education with coronavirus, with all these disturbances. They have been kept away from their education. So the best way is, I don't think, is to send them back there. They must have been sent to another universities that are in different states, but not in Amara State, especially at this moment. The Amara right wings are saying, look, we have won the war in Tigray, and now they're already started the war drums for Beshangul Gumuz. Obviously, the crown jewel, they will come for Oromia. By sending these students there right now, you're sending them to their death. So it doesn't make sense to send these students to their death. I think the Oromia State University and their education bureau need to do much better. They need to stand up to the PM or anybody that is forcing this student to go. And if the student refuses not to go, they're causing an embarrassment to the government. And the government will not take that lightly. So then they will gonna come after them. So then they have to be on a run. They have to live in fear. And even I remember when I was home, some of the students, they started protesting, say, as far as the Oromo students have proper safety in those universities, we will not get educated. Then what the government did was they sent a military to a university. Imagine you have the military sitting outside and you're trying to get education. Ethiopia is just bizarre. Then they can't keep that one up because right now, obviously, there's a conflict going on in Tigray. You have both South and South Sudan and the other Sudan having issue with Ethiopian government. So the military has moved. They can't guarantee safety. So there must be an alternative. They have to find solution instead of sending these students to their death.
Thank you very much. Mustariha, you are a student of human rights and criminal justice. We live in most developed country in the world, and when it comes to education system, everybody have the right to attend a university of their choice and a department that they want based on their GPA requirement or whatever the criteria are. But I have never heard in the Western world where a student is forced to go to 13 universities without their choice. As a human rights activist, what do you think, what is going on in Ethiopia in relation to their education system, especially post-secondary education system?
I think truly what's happening right now is more disappointing. It's not surprising because Ethiopia is suffering and that they have to be forced to go to a university that isn't of their choice or a career path that isn't of their choice is more disappointing because not only are you sending these kids to their death, like he said, but you're wanting them to take a career that they're not passionate about or motivated to go into, and that won't last for them. And the Ethiopian government is so scared of the resistance that the one thing they can do is use their military forces to get everybody to follow. But that's exactly what the Oromo students are not going to do, because as long as they expect the resistance, like respect the existence or expect the existence, and that's what it is. So the students there shouldn't be pushed to go to school at all. If their life is at danger, they should not be going to school. Especially, they have the right to refuse that. That's 100%. Anybody whose life is at danger to go to a university has the right to refuse to go there because their life is in danger, and they have the right to stay home and not to be part of anything like that. And Oromo students are known to protest and go on strikes and do these kind of things when their life is at danger. As you've seen these past few months, we've seen lots of Oromo protests, and that's not going to stop them. And the Ethiopian government is not going to stop. They're going to continue. But my message to the Kairos and Kares is that we stand with you. We're going to try as much as we can to help you, but you have the right to refuse. If your life is in danger and they're trying to push you to go to something that's potentially going to get you hurt in any way, like shape or form, you have the right to refuse. You have the right to stay with your family, and you have the right to stay home. So please refuse. If your life is in danger in any way, refuse. Know you have the right to refuse. And it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but your life is in danger, and nothing's more important than your life, not even education. Because if you don't have a life, you can't be educated. So please refuse, because this is not the way students should be educated. And here in Canada, we're so privileged. We have the right to go to any university, take any course we want, and take any career path we want, and go to school without, fearing what's going to happen to us. And we have that ease. And back home, that's a struggle. They don't have that. Not only is their life in danger because they're Oromo, but now they have to be forced to go to school, and they have to be forced to follow a career path that isn't of their choice. Like I said, it's disappointing, but it's not surprising. Ethiopia's government have been known to be doing this for multiple years. This is not the first time I'm hearing this story. It's not the first time I'm witnessing it either. And it's not going to stop until we do something about it. So the Oromos back home, we're trying our best, and we will stand with you and fight with you.
Thank you very much. I would like to say this. It is not an easy task for a student that graduate from high school and got the only opportunity they have to join university. I was born and raised in a poor peasant family. And one thing I looked forward, myself and many like me looked forward to, was to get a GPA that allows you to go to university and graduate with some sort of career path. Unfortunately, most Oromo students are deprived of that chance now. They fear for their life, and they are losing the one opportunity that they have. If those students will not accept the quota that was given to them and attend on to those universities on due date, they may as well lose the one chance that they have to go to university. And it is so bizarre the way that education system works in Ethiopia, especially in post-secondary school. Once a student enrolled in those universities and they were, if for God forbid, due to social, economical, or psychological factors, a student academically dismissed, they will never, ever get the chance to go back to another university. I'm not sure if things change right now, but during my time, that was the bitter reality. Anyways, let's move to the next topic. Arsaddin. Currently, Ethiopia is in war within itself, and it has been almost a month and a half since there is a war in Tigray, and there is a credible report from State Department that Eritrea also involved in these domestic affairs. What information do you have about the human rights crisis and the refugee status in northern Ethiopia?
I don't think there is much information because the information are limited. The journalists are not allowed. The government fact checks other people, and then the sources only come from them. Then the other source come from TPLF, which does also their own propaganda. So you can't really get enough information. The only information you could get is what's going on from the Amnesty International and the UN. And as you can see, there is like a lot of kids, young families are fleeing war area and going into Sudan. And imagine, obviously, I don't know if Sudan have the capacity to deal with these refugees. And the way things are going right now with Sudan having tension, both Sudanese having tension with Ethiopia, and then the right wings are drumming more wars, there's going to be a lot of displacement. So right now it's hard because there is limited amount of information, and there's disinformation. You can't really say, this is 100% accurate, because everybody from both sides are just releasing misinformations. I can't say this is for sure this was going on, but from the UN you can see there's a lot of kids. Abiy says, this is young men who are going running away to Tigray. The picture doesn't show that.
Thank you very much. Mustariha, I was watching the conflict zone show on Deutsche Welle a few days ago, and this journalist was asking Sadiq Abraha, Minister of Ethiopian Democracy and Development, whatever his title was, and she was praising him hard about the humanitarian crisis, about the Ethiopian military-backed Amhara militia firing on the United Nations humanitarian assistance envoys, and the about 40,000 refugees crossing into Sudan, and including this Sadiq Abraha and the Prime Minister of Ethiopia are alleging war is over. At the meantime, just yesterday, they came out and they said anybody who pinpoint the whereabouts of TPL leadership, what they call it, junta, they will give a reward of 10 million Ethiopian birr. Is this war is over? If the war is over, why 10 million bounty to go after the TPL leadership?
See, the thing with that is the refugees going to Sudan should be expected, because when you're living in a country that's ruled by people that are not fit to be in position, people that do not see you as equals or individuals, you should be expecting that kind of a thing. And as he said, Sudan, I'm not too sure if they have the capacity to help everybody, but the Ethiopian government saying that the war is over and that they want everybody to be together is words that I've heard 100 times before. With each prime minister, we've heard this before. They will promise you one thing, but do another. That's something we've seen. We've seen it with our own eyes. Abiy Ahmed, when he came in power, what was he saying? He wanted Ethiopia to be one. He wanted all ethnicities to be together, not divided. And what did he do? He did exactly that. He divided us more than we should even be divided to begin with. And he displaced so many people, oppressed so many different ethnicities, not just Oromos, focused on us more, but now Tigray people too. So to say that the war is over and that, they want everybody back and they're trying to place everybody back to their homes and help them is a lie. That's false advertisement, because at this point, not only are you trying to get them back so you can oppress them even more, but you are putting their life at danger, because they left their own country to go find freedom, to go live, to just live a life where they feel like they actually have a say in what they do. And Abiy Ahmed is trying to get them back for that reason, so that he can oppress them more and they won't even matter. So for me, I'm shocked hearing that he said, if anybody finds them, you get money in reward. That's how much a life means to him. Money for life. Do you see the difference? The balance is not there. He's using money as a way to draw people out. And that's disgusting. As a prime minister, you shouldn't even be doing that. Everybody's supposed to be equal to you. When you're going to power, you promise to get everybody to be together, especially Ethiopia. And what you're saying right now does not show. That's narcissistic behavior. It does not show that you are here to help the people. It shows that you're in fact against the people. Because if so many people are telling you this ethnicity is being oppressed by this prime minister, this ethnicity is being oppressed by this person, it should be taken into words. It should be taken into consideration that this person is not fit to be a leader. This person does not have the characteristics, qualities, or even requirements to be a leader. Because again, he was self-elected. And so for him to lie openly, not only did he lie openly, but he said that he publicly announced that there was a war going on with Tigray. So it's just lies on top of lies. And this is something I'm not even surprised about, because like I said, every prime minister, Meles Zenawi, Haile Selassie, they all have done this. It's not a surprise. So I'm telling you, when the Ethiopian government says one thing but does another, pay attention to the actions. Because at the end of the day, you can say one thing but do another. And if you're helping the people, I want to see through your actions. I'm not going to listen to the words, because anybody can be told something and then be done differently. So the Ethiopian government, what they need to do is show it through their actions that they're here to help the people, because their words mean nothing to us right now.
Like you said, Ahmed promised to truth and reconciliation of that country. He promised to free political party leaders. He invited freedom of. He invited the exiled political party leaders. He allowed freedom of speech and widened freedom of press. Arsaddin Govana, that reform short-lived, and Oromos are in record number went back to jail, including our prominent political leaders and activists, the likes of Jawar Muhammad. And there are people who claims they are better off in previous regime under TPLF. What do you think of the current affairs in Oromo political atmosphere?
I think we have to kind of look at it the way Abiy came into power. When Abiy came to the power, right, we didn't have a proper organization. I think Jawar wrote an article on Addis standard where he explained how the reason they had to follow the reform and trying to push those people to take the position of leading the Oromo revolution from a protest to a governance was there is no proper or stable, strong political organization that can oppose or was working at home. So then this facade of like, oh, we have this reform, the OPDOs have been liberated, Team Lama and all these, the reform team, and this whole thing, this saga was going on. Then eventually, I think Jawar opposed Abiy. Then they gave an explanation why Abiy should lead, not Lama. I think even myself, I was bought into that, whatever they were arguing. And a lot of people bought into that, and we supported Abiy. Then from the first day, Abiy started praising Menelik. So Abiy already showed us his cards, and he was talking about saying, oh, Susinati,
Yeah,
Ethiopia is an addiction. So I don't know what type of addiction he has for Ethiopia. Ethiopia that has been humiliated us, deprived of our language, our culture, and so many aspects of being an Oromo or indigenous to Ethiopia. So Abiy already shows his card. Then you can't blame Abiy, because Abiy is doing exactly what he intended to do. The people who should be blamed are so-called an opposition and other people who are leading the movement. Even Jawar has to take blame here, because he covered up a lot for them when the students were getting killed, with the whole OLF saga thing going on. And there was no time for us to come together, discuss, and say, you know what? This is the fruit of our struggle. How can we take the Oromo protest wish and make sure they get what they want? And instead, when the oppositions went home, the political parties, some joined the government, some opposed. So he was pitting against each other. So they already have their own personal issues or division from abroad. So when they went home, he just fueled all of that. And the whole saga of disarmament. In Oromo history, we never had an actual successful armed struggle other than the Bale Farmers Revolt. So when they refuse to get disarmed, I don't see the logic behind it. We have literally a history of not having a successful armed struggle. So we got here because of a united front where the Oromo people gave their life, protested peacefully, and we reached here. Then I think I was back home when they tried to assassinate Jawar at the middle of the night. Everything Abiy was doing before that, nobody talked about it, and they just hide it, and the all Oromo political organization ignored it. When they came to kill Jawar, that's when a lot of people start turning on Abiy. So Abiy, the fault is on us and the political organizations. If these people have the bones and they have the courage to reform themselves and get organized, wake the Oromo people work united instead of them being, oh, I need to rule. Hachalu wouldn't have died. They wouldn't have come for Jawar. Now they're coming for Oromia. Now they're even talking about, we might even move our capital to Finland. You see, the fault is on us. It's time, instead of looking at Abiy and blaming Abiy, and take responsibility for our mistakes and make sure these mistakes are not constantly recycled. And that's the only solution.
Thank you very much, Arsaddin. You really raised very interesting topics. Mustariha, if you may touch up something on this one, and I'll ask you another question to answer together. The one thing Oromo people demanded for the past 4 years were for the Oromo political parties come together and make one strong united front, or maybe one or two strong opposition party. However, there are a number of useless, incompetent, ego-driven political parties and leaders representing Oromos these days. Do you think the reason we are in this mess is because of self-oriented, incompetent political party and leaders who are carrying the resistance flag on behalf of the Oromo people?
It's an interesting question because it can go both other ways. And he did raise an interesting question. We have to look at it kind of how did, Abiy come into power, what got him to that state, and how did he, became a leader. And that's kind of what we need to look at. As for people kind of leading us, it goes all the way back to Milan and Haile Selassie when they were in power. Women were being sold, our men were being used to fight the war and not being given the credit or the history, and is not told correctly, right? And so for us, we kind of have to look at it as to how did these people get into power? Because these people, if you do not agree with their vision, with their future for Oromia, automatically you're a target. And that's what they've been doing. It's proven now that anybody that goes against them or resists against them is automatically a target and becomes a target regardless of your ethnicity or who you are as a human being. And that's an issue, because for us to be in this mess, it's not only disturbing, but it's tiring. We've been in this mess for more than 150 years. It's just become more serious now because more people are being involved. Oromo activists are dying, and it goes beyond saying that even children are dying, adults are dying, everybody, nobody's safe. If you're Oromo, that's you being a target. Oromoma to them is a crime. And the way I see it is that we got into this mess because of the people in power, and the way we let them lead us and the way we believe them for the work that they were supposed to do. Like he said, we bought into it because when Abiy took power, we looked at him as a beacon of hope for us. We looked at him as change for the Oromo people. Hopefully we get rights, democracy instead of dictatorship. But he literally laid out what he was going to do, how he was going to run. And we decided to turn a blind eye to it. And that's not even on him, it's on us for believing the words and not the actions, And so I find it more kind of like we have to step back and see how we got into this issue by looking at the people in power and how we supported them. And even if we didn't support them, what did we not do to make sure that that person wasn't going to be in power? And that's what we're not doing. We're not looking at all the cards. We're not paying attention to the little stuff of how this person got into power. How's he ruling? Does he have qualities or requirements to be a leader or to be my leader? Does he? We are not asking those questions. And we end up in this situation more than once. It's been shown in the history now that this isn't the first time the Oromo people have been oppressed. This isn't the first time that other ethnicities in Ethiopia have been oppressed. And when you think of Ethiopia, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? The fact that it wasn't colonized, and the one ethnicity you think of is the Amharas, because that's majority, and that's what was shown to everybody when you think of Ethiopia instead of different ethnicities being showcased. 80 different ethnicities in Ethiopia, but the Amharas was the one that was showcased the most because Milenik had enforced his beliefs and his opinions onto the people, and that carried on into this generation. And now that this corrupted system was set up and that is meant to oppress people, we're not looking at it as how did we get into this mess and how can we get out of it. We're more looking at it as we don't want this person in power. Yes, we don't want them in power, but how do we implement rules? How do we make sure that this person doesn't end up, being in power again, or somebody like this person does not end up in power? Because history will repeat itself. If we do not pay attention and be educated, it will repeat itself. And we've been in this cycle for years on end, 150 years. And I honestly think that we have to take it upon us to be more educated about the system itself, the way it works. And if we have people who are willing to stand on their 2 feet to fight against the system, we will get somewhere. We will get the blisuma that we've been deprived of for years on end, and the generations before us have been deprived of. Because as long as I'm here alive, this is the last generation. I'm going to try my best to make sure that has to fight for their rights, or has to even fight for the land that our ancestors have built, died on, tried to survive, and it's disappointing that this person get in power. Why did we allow this person to be in power? Because Oromo people, 55 million population compared to everybody else, the Ethiopian government and everybody else, 5 million. There's a huge difference in that. And if we stand together and we stand united, we can overcome that. All those oppositions, all those oppression, we can overcome that. We just have to be willing to stand together and look at it as we are not going to allow this person to be in power anymore because we got into this mess and we're going to get out of it. We also have to take responsibility. And that's the thing about us. Us Oromos, we love to look at it as, this person is responsible for this thing. We have to also take responsibility because we allowed that to happen. Regardless of how this person got into power, we allowed it to happen, and we need to take responsibility and accountability and try to move forward like, yes, it happened. And we need to move forward and make sure our people do not go through this again. And the next generation following us do not have to go protest for this kind of thing ever again.
Actually, just to add on to that one, right? I think there is a saying like for the Kurds don't have friends but the mountains. So for us, our only friends are ourselves. If our political parties can't sit down and discuss and talk with each other and have a proper solution, it's just about them, it's about them, how can we go anywhere? If you look at it, the Oromo protest was just going by themselves. And then all of the sudden, the Amaras came. When the Amaras came, then they're like, oh, Omara. We know these people have been involved in deep state. They have a better technique of running and infiltrating than us. We never had history. We have been oppressed for over 150 years. Some Oromo tribes, even more. So from that, as soon as it came, the whole concept was how can we come together and make sure the history, what happened in 91, does not repeat again. Then instead, the whole time was that first year, it was, the disarmament, Jarsuma, this and that. While we're literally bickering ourselves, these people infiltrated the whole Abiy government. Why would Abiy move from a powerhouse, the Oromo protest, while he had the whole population? It's because it's on us. I don't know why we're blaming anybody else. While we're literally crawling here, these guys went in there and they took all the key positions. Now they want more war. Now they want to dismantle the constitution and so forth. I think the responsibility, I'll blame literally the opposition, and Jawar has to take responsibility also, because he could have literally forced, he's bigger than all left or any of these political parties. He could have forced them to come together. Then maybe he could actually have led the whole organization and moved forward. And this is just a constant cycle and need to stop.
Indeed, Johar Muhammad led one of the most powerful non-violence resistance struggle, and one of the many questions a lot of Oromo intellectuals asked him during the final years of Oromo protest, early 2017, 2018, was why do we have to choose to salvage a rotten empire that is nothing but a graveyard to the Oromo existence? And why Oromo cannot declare free, independent Gada Republic of Oromia? And for some reason, the Oromo intellectuals, maybe due to pressure from international community or due to their own hidden internal feeling for this empire Ethiopia, they choose to salvage an empire that was at the verge of collapsing. And here we go, starting from square zero. Anyways, moving forward, due to in recognition of our heroes, men and women who sacrificed their only precious life for the Oromo struggle, paid ultimate price to give us minimum standard of achievement for the Oromos and nation and nationalities, fighting hand in hand with national nationalities such as TPLF, Eritrean People's Liberation Front, the Sidama People's Liberation Front, the Ogadenia, and the Oromo Liberation Front fought the Dergu regime and created, even though it is pseudo, but they created ethnic federalism that allows nation and nationalities to have a right on their own land and a collective power share on the federal structure. Lately, since Abiy Ahmed came to power, he resurrected a dead ideology, glorifies Melanik and Haile Selassie, and he vowed to bring back glorious Ethiopia. Arsaddin, I follow you on your social media platform, and I see you are critically writing the past injustice. These days, it seems those fundamentals, minimum standard Oromo and nationalities achieved are under attack, such as dismantling ethnic federalism. What do you think about that?
I think the survival of ethnic federalism doesn't solely rely only on the Oromos. I think previously you were saying, why would the Oromos choose to stay within Ethiopia and all that? If you look at this earlier, we don't have the capacity in terms of especially the opposition to actually lead. The reason OPIO took over the Oromo protest is because the oppositions are just constantly going back and forth and creating more division and more conflict than actually to help the Oromo progress. So that's why the OPDOs took over. And for ethnic federalism, let's just take a look at us as Oromos. We like making friends in Ethiopia and internationally. In Ethiopia, right now, the Beshangul Gumuz, the Anuaks, the Sidamas, the Walaitas, there are even the Somalis, the Afars. There are so many different nations and nationalities that have the same question, especially in the southern nation and nationalities. So far, our greatest my friend are the Sidamas, because the Sidama, I remember when I was in Finland in 2019 for a race, the Sidamas came and the Walaitas came with the fully dressed to race. That's 150 years, and they came and celebrated with us. So for us, for the ethnic federalism and the constitution to stay intact, we must able to have more friends within Ethiopia and work with them, not just by activists, but by political organizations too. There should be a united political force that are just working like well-oiled machine to take on these people, because these people, look at all Abiy's key position. They have it. Now we can make noises here, but we weren't able to stop them. But if we're strong and we coordinated with other nations and nationalities, we have to abandon them and come to the center now. It's no, you can't just automatically run to that unitary system, and he won't able to do that. So I think the responsibility falls on us making more friends among other nations in Ethiopia.
Okay, Mustariha, we live in Canada. Somehow our federal system related to the Ethiopian federal system, but some argue that ethnic federalism in Ethiopia is a problem to unite the country. Contrary to that, majority argues that ethnic federalism is a life support for the Ethiopia to continue as a nation, because there are grievances between nation and nationality that has not been addressed properly, but at least leaving everybody having the right to self-determination in their own respective region and sharing the federal power somehow will allow people to live together. If those rights are eradicated, I think we are going back to a civil war, the likes of what happened to overthrow TPLF. And those unitary forces who try to compare Canadian federal system in Ethiopia, I don't think they did their homework, because Canadian Charter of Freedom and every constitution within Canadian province recognizes the treaty rights of the Aboriginal people. The Native people of Canada have a special provision in every constitution within Canadian Empire. And if we took, for example, Quebec, they are pretty much depend ethnic federalism. They want to somehow secede from Canada one day, and Canada recognizes that. And the two previous Canadian Prime Minister, and I mean the previous Canadian Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, and the current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, acknowledged the past injustice and the crime that was done against the Native people of Canada. Does this unity, pro-unity group cry for will happen without a truth and reconciliation in Ethiopia, without addressing the past wound, the past crime committed by those people against nation and nationalities?
That's an important question that you asked me, actually, because I think that this is something everybody needs to kind of open their mind to, that like the Oromo people will not move forward. The Ethiopian government will not move forward without acknowledging the history, the oppression, the past, that took place, and the amount of bloodshed, the amount of lives that were lost, the land that was stolen. There's so many factors that go into being, reconciled. And the Ethiopian government is not seeing a future where Oromo people are standing with them. They're seeing it as that Oromo people are against them. Whereas we're looking at it as that, we just want respect. We just want our history to be told correctly in the books. And we want our land back, and we just want our people to be known. We want the rights that everybody should be having. And the difference with Canada and Ethiopia is that Canada has so many rights. You have the right to do anything just as long as it's not violent, it does not hurt anybody or yourself. Ethiopia back home, you can't do that. You don't even have the right to get free education. As you can see, that the kids are being forced to go not even choose, the Ethiopian government is choosing a path curriculum for them. You don't even have any rights back home. So to say that the Ethiopian government is going to follow the, look at it as Canada's going to implement rights on them is crazy, because we don't have the same rights. We really don't. And if we did, so many people would not be displaced back home. The war that's going on right now would not be taking place. Hajalu wouldn't have died. The political prisoners wouldn't be in prison right now. Even Jafar Yusuf would not be beaten up in the cell, and denied medical help. So there are so many factors. And for us to move forward, to be acknowledged, we want our history told. We want our history told by us in the correct way. We want our land back. We want our people to be respected. And that is the only way we move forward. In Canada, I remember when I was in elementary, we used to do "Oh Canada" every single morning. I used to stop for 3 minutes because I'm acknowledging that this land is not mine, that it's the Treaty 1 territory. And that's something that they use to show that, this land is to be respected, because this is the indigenous people's land. And something like that should be implemented in Ethiopia, to be recognized that this is your land and we are here with you and we appreciate you guys letting us use the land, is something that the Oromo people need, because we've always been deprived of it. Ever since they took our land, our home, our people, we haven't had that. And for years on end, it's the same oppression over and over and over and over again. That cycle needs to end. And it starts by the Ethiopian government acknowledging us as first individuals, human beings, and then give us equal rights as they have. And stop showcasing the Amhara people as the Ethiopian people. Because when you look at it, if you go, even Canada here, when you tell them you're not Ethiopian, they're going to look at you as, well, you're Ethiopian because Oromia is in Ethiopia. No, that's not how it works. We want to be our own people. We want to be independent. We want to be ruled by our own people so that we may have the rights that we want, you know? And I don't want to be known as an Ethiopian. No disrespect, but my people have a name. We have a region. We have a flag. So why is it that the Amhara people are showcased more compared to every other ethnicity, and now you have to take their flag and stand behind their flag, you know? So for me personally, I don't want that to be the truth and reconciliation that comes out of it. I want the correct history told so that they know how the Oromo people were abused, tortured, and hurt, and they know exactly what's happening, because the cycle is going to continue and it needs to end for the Oromo people to get rights, for anybody in Ethiopia to get rights, and to be known as ethnicities within Ethiopia, but that they have their own flags, that they represent their own tribe, culture, and people. It needs to end, and the Ethiopian government has to take accountability. Without accountability and responsibility, we can't move forward. As long as they turn a blind eye to the oppression that they've given people, the hurt that they've caused, the bloodshed that they've caused, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be a continuation of war and more oppression, and that's not going to be surprising at all. But that needs to end.
Thank you very much, Mustariha. Arsaddin, let me ask you another current issue, that is the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, visited Kenya lately, and he pleaded to the Kenyan government and the Kenyan people to help him eradicate Oromo Liberation Front, and he compared OLF with Al-Shabaab. Is that expected of a prime minister of a country to badmouth a legally registered political party in the country? He didn't say Oromo Liberation Army. He particularly said Oromo Liberation Front. Even if he said his intention was to mean Oromo Liberation Army, is that possible to eradicate OLF?
This is actually a very tricky question. I don't know if it's expected for him to be talking about a registered political organization in a foreign country. It doesn't really make sense in that sense. As far as for eradicating OLF, I think for him saying that he's playing toward his current base. The current base, they have this boogeyman, OLF, OLF, OLF. So he's just making sure they're always happy, and that's one. As for eradicating, actually, I have a popular opinion. I would actually say it's the best interest for Oromo people to allow OLF to die, because OLF, what they're doing is they're like weed. You see, when weeds, they start growing, they suck the food out of the other plants, and then that plants will never gonna be prospered. OLF literally live on conflict. Let's just take a look kind of in a nutshell, the Oromo history. We got colonized, and the colonization came to complete in 19th century. Then from then on, the Haile Selassie came, where you have to pay taxes to them. They will come literally take Tumales horse and everything from your house, and you pay taxes to those, the military, and to Haile Selassie himself. Then eventually the Bale revolt said, you know what, we have enough of this. We're not gonna pay taxes. Then they revolted. They're not special. They have no formal education. They're just regular farmers, and they took out arms, right? And they ruled from 1963 to 1970, a little bit ago, to the whole Bari area. So imagine if you look at a regular farmer's history with an OLF, which was created in 1973, till today, their achievements cannot be compared with OLF. So that tells you OLF are not really helping us. All they're doing is they're just making sure other parties don't get up. Even Jawar refused to join them, and majority of his work was as activist that led the Oromos to even reach this specific point. So for me, I don't really have that emotional attachment to OLF no more. When I was young, we listened to Ebisa Dunya and Omar Suleiman. Aba Ojabesa, Wambiya Balesa, Bakka Jirtamara, Guba Barbadesa. So the OLF was overhyped. There's so much overcredited. And I actually give you an analogy and example. An example is when Marara, I was like in school. I was young. I didn't understand exactly what's going on. So was my classmate. Marara Gudina was on TV taking on Malay. So for us, we're like, you know what? OLF came in disguise. They came to save us. But in all honesty, they are a political organization. I remember, I think in my area, they won the election. And OFC became a big thing. And then eventually, guess what happened? People figure out they know really OLF, and the support for them died. But they were the only one who stayed at home and fought with our people. You see how they're literally sucking the life out of any political organization that might grow. So for us, we're keeping them alive because some people, they were part of OLF. And for the young generation that are abroad, they were raised with the OLF symbols, and their parents passed that to them. But the reality don't really match. The analogy is like this. A Boeing, you know how Boeing airplane crashed. When the Boeing airplane crashed, you go get a black box. When you get that black box, the reason you get in a black box is what went wrong. Why is this thing causing a problem? For Oromo people, we don't get the black box. You know what? There's another model. Let's go to that model. They go that model, and that model crashes again. You know, they say, oh, this one is worse than the previous one. And they go back to that one. Nothing has changed. The probability of that plane crashing is the same. So for us, it's not the OLF should be eradicated because somehow OLF, they're bad or anything. They just don't have a capacity. They're rigid. I think you mentioned Jawara wrote OLF is beyond repair. So I don't think at this time we don't have time to repair them. If OLF wants to be saved, it's up to OLF to save themselves. If you look at OLF became, after 98, it became like a monarchy system. Their highest achievement was under Galata Dilbo. Then they eventually pushed him out, and he said, you know what, I'm not going to abdicate this. I will be the new king too. Dawood said the same thing. Then now the latest one is between Dawood and Ararso. So you see how OLF is just causing us more harm. And also, it's just a fuel for the Habashas. Oh, OLF did this. And they always create this fake propaganda. And somehow OLF and Abawa are interconnected and they must live together. We need to get out of this plantation. Imagine when I was young, in that example, they kept us on that plantation. We couldn't get out. Everything is about OLF. You know what I mean? It's time we give other organizations. I'm not talking about the one that are at home right now. They're all useless. But there could be another party that is of reflective of the Kairos and all the youth that have brought us to this moment. So I would actually argue, you know what? Even though it's unpopular opinion, let them go. It's time. We need to move on.
Indeed, it is unpopular opinion, and I admire your guts because we really need to entertain different views and opinion, and this is why this platform is here. On Gada News Network, every opinion belongs to the guest and the host, not necessarily to the network. And I really value your opinion because I remember Jawar Muhammad was probably your age or younger than you when he wrote an article, OLF was broken beyond repair. And it caused him a lot of enemies from the Oromo camp. At the same time, it gave him a lot of attention to different stakeholders. And here you go where he is. You are one of those potential critics that I really admire for your opinions. And let's move to Mustariha. Majority of Oromo people believes the existence of Oromo interrelated to OLF And the fact that Abiy Ahmed brag and plead to the foreign country to eradicate OLF and comparing Oromo Liberation Front, legally registered organization or political party, with a terrorist organization is offensive to the Oromos. What do you think of his approach, and do you think OLF can be eradicated by any power on earth?
Honestly, before anything, he said it perfectly. Like I couldn't have said anything else, because as I've seen, OLF has only brought conflict. And if you look at their achievements compared to their conflicts, they haven't really done much. It's more conflict than achievements. And as he said, like they suck the life out of everybody else for their organization to move forward. And the analogy he used where he said, you know, the black box, it's true, because us Oromos have only been known to run to the next president or the prime minister as if, you know, we're finally going to get liberation, we're finally going to get Bilisuma. But it's the same thing. It's the same aftermath. And we've been getting the same, you know, same type of treatment every single time. So for me, it just kind of comes off like we actually need to take a step back and relax and kind of be our own black box to see where it went wrong, to pursue the next prime minister and take in how this person even got there. And is this person worth my time? Is this person going to lead me and my people into, you know, Bilisuma? Is that the case? Is that going to happen? That kind of thing. And as for your question, Abiy Ahmed, to be honest, anything about him just irritates me. His approach with anything is not valid to me, because he's not looking at it as an approach of, is this okay for the people? Is this going to be helpful towards them? It's more so, this is my future, this is my vision, and I'm going to implement it. You either agree and you follow, or you disagree and your life is in danger. So that type of mentality is the type of mentality he has, and that mentality is not leading anybody to, you know, justice or to Bilisuma at all. And that's what we need to look at. Even the Amharas, I truly feel like one day they will end up in the same position we ended up in, because of the, you know, prime ministers and the government in power. Because it's about time. It's only a matter of time that each ethnicity goes through what the Oromo people went through, and to kind of feel the need to say, like, you know what, they were right, because they had went through this and we turned a blind eye to it and ignored their oppression, only for us to end up in the same situation. And as I've said before, history repeats itself 100%. And if they're not being educated about our history, if they're not looking at our pain and saying, I don't want that to be, you know, the ruler for anybody, if not just them, you know, it's sad. Because if it can happen to us, it can happen to you. You're no different. You're an ethnicity, you're a person. And if it happens to the Oromo people, it can happen to the Tigray people. It can happen to the Habashas, the Amharas, whoever it may be. It can happen. It's all about the person and their vision for your country, your people, and how they want to rule. And as you said before, Abiy played his cards up to us, but we turn a blind eye to it. And that's what everybody else is doing right now. They're turning a blind eye to the oppression that we face, to Abiy Ahmed's tactic of work, to his work ethic and his views, and the corrupt justice system that they have. And everybody's turning a blind eye to it, because as long as it's not their people suffering, they do not care. They do not want to even look at it. And that's disappointing, because it's inhumane to say that, you know, you're not going to help out because it's not your ethnicity in danger. It's not your people that are suffering. And that's something that everybody needs to kind of look at, like, be educated. Like, be educated, look at the facts, look at the history, look at what took place, instead of just looking at, these are not my people, I'm not going to help. I'm going to refuse to help because my people are okay. We have independence. We're going to be okay. It can happen to you regardless. At the end of the day, it can happen to you. Power is power, and that's what they have. And if that power can be used against you, you stand up to it. And these people are not doing exactly that. So be educated, because it can happen to you too.
Thank you very much. Indeed, that is what I love about the young generation. Unfiltered opinion, and you see things from different perspective. And indeed, Oromos need to search for the black box and see where the problem lies for the past 40 years. And especially OLF, now, like Arsaddin says, divided into OLF of the Jaldawidibsa and the OLF of Ararso Bikila, and at the same time the army wing of Jalmaro and Gulicho from the south. So indeed, for OLF to survive, they need to sit down, discuss amongst each other, and come back strong if they need to solicit the unity of Oromo people and to capitalize on the achievement they created so far. This is my personal opinion. And in defense of Oromo Liberation Front, we are here today, keeping our head up and be proud of who we are because of Oromo Liberation Front and the heroes who paid ultimate sacrifice in this struggle. Even though the bitter sacrifice we pay is not compared to the achievement we gain, somehow today we are here fighting for our rights because we learn who we are during those struggles. I concluded some of the questions that I have from my side. And thank you for coming on our network. And I hope you will come back both. Arsaddin, I will give you 1 minute if there is any point you need to add, and no more than 1 minute, please.
Okay, I'll just make it short and quick. Abiy is playing chess and we're playing checkers. Abiy came in power. He already had his base. He already targeted the unitary system, whatever. Then his move with Eritrea was for the war that is right now going on. Once he has done that, he was able to eliminate all the other possible oppositions, the chief of army, any resistance, possible resistance in the Amara state. Then he eventually came for the Oromos. If you look at it, what happened at the Hachalu assassination was one stone for three birds, not two, but three birds. One, Hachalu was saying, Nura Dogo Ayalama, Nura Dogo Ayabi. He's criticizing them, and he's criticizing all left, he's criticizing everybody. Then once they killed them, they got Jawar. Now they have eliminated another opposition figure who could participate in the election. The third one is, if Jawar is around, right now imagine Jawar would oppose this war, then they won't have the ability to go and continue this war. So Abiy is playing chess. For us, we need to start say, yo, come back. We need to look at and say, how can we push forward? We can't just be from outside. We need a proper organization and a proper institution that can fight, or at least, again, reliberate the Oromos who in PP. That's the only way. There is a famous saying, Intane Kristinam, but ane yore de Devi Amale. Maybe we have to repeat again.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Arsaddin. Mustariha.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I honestly think that personally, I see it as Abiy Ahmed came into power with intentions. And he had those intentions from the moment he took power. He had them down. And he's only playing it now. And we're seeing it because we, didn't pay attention to his cards before. And now that we're, kind of going through it, we're looking at it as he's not the prime minister we want, or somebody, we want to follow as the leader. And that's something we need to pay attention to, because these people have already come into this. This system was already built for us. The system, the corruption system that they're using has already been built years before. And this system is now broken for the reason that we're not looking at their intentions. We are not paying attention to what they're trying to offer, whether it's oppression or justice. We're not paying attention to that. So we end up in the same situation every single time somebody new comes into power, hoping that it's going to be different each and single time, which is why we always support them at first. And then as soon as we see what they're actually full of, what their intentions is, we back up, because our people are in danger. And this is a game that's been going on for too long. And as people who have been oppressed for 150 years, we should be able to pick up on it. We should be able to see that this is going to continue and stop. But for the rest of the people, please be educated, because honestly, you can do so much with education and just knowing what's going on right now with the oppression of the Oromos and the war with Tigray people and the democracy and dictatorship that's going on in Ethiopia. Be educated, because that's when you can speak up. When you're educated, you won't be silent, because you know your intentions, information, you can speak up against it. Take the time to learn, take the time to actually pay attention to what's going on, and try to speak up against oppression, because when one person is oppressed, we're all oppressed. And silence against oppression is siding with the oppressor. So please speak up when you need to and be educated about the situation.
Thank you very much, Mustariha Muhammad and Arsaddin Gobana, for joining me on Gada News Network weekly English program. I hope you will come back and give us your valued opinion in current affairs that affects the Oromo people in particular and the Ethiopian empire in general. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Situ fatera, bujinis kaera, igila dabera. Situ fatera, karayun kaera. Jimanis kaera, imapaje farjiti kaera, igila dabera. Situ fatera, shawanis kaera, igila dabera. Situ fatera, salalin kaera. Ummanni rakkateera alagaan nutti gammadeera eegera dabeera si tuffateera ummanni kayeera eegera dabeera si tuffateera oromoon kayeera wallaggaan kayeera hawaalee fi arsiisitti kayeera eegera dabeera si tuffateera amboonis kayeera eegera dabeera si tuffateera harargeen kayeera walloonis kayeera walloo kamiseetitti kayeera dabera, si tu fatera, matakal kaera. Egera dabera, si tu fatera, rayanis kaera. Warega malubuti, kaniti gone, kayof tarsimoda ni kamone. Galalli sabakoromo, manif kanataye. Maluma sigone, nitimi maluma sigone. Ajalu dabera, situ fatera, biyu batera. Ajalu dabera, situ fatera, samni gubatera. Ilunis kaera, ilu pavora ziti kaera. Ajalu dabera, situ fatera, ambonis kaera. Ajalu dabera, situ fatera, wadison kaera.